Good afternoon, everyone. I can see by some of the names on the screen that I have some returning people that I've seen today. Thank you so much for coming back. This time goes by very quickly, so I'm going to ask you to go ahead and jump into your Clever account and get logged in to your RAS Plus. I've got some directions there on the board for you. Those of you that may be brand spanking new teachers, you may not have access through Clever yet. If that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and add the usernames and passwords, and you can just borrow these usernames and passwords during our session today. We want everyone to have the opportunity to explore the resources. So if you have not signed in, and I was asked to share this with every session. So please go ahead and use that QR code if you've not used it yet. And just your quick information about getting paid. That's probably the most important information today. And we'll get started. So our session today, last session for the day, is on data. Those of you that have been with me, those of you that have used RAS Plus before, know that you are able to go in and get great data based on your kids' comprehension skills, especially in order to help with your intervention with your small groups. So one of the things that I would like for us to do today is to look at the reports dashboard, look at the student performance, as well as the usage in your classroom. And then if we have time, showing you how to go back in, look at that, going back to your home page and actually assigning those resources. My goal for this school year is for teachers to use RAS Plus with more intentional purposes. Within the district, you do use us for several different ways. As you can see on my screen, some teachers are using this for whole group. Some of you are using us during small group. Some of us maybe just independent practice. However you use it, it's whatever works best for you is the way we want you to use it. I'm going to add a folder link to the chat. This is a folder I've created for San Francisco. It has all of our slide decks today. It has this document in it as well. We will continue to add resources. Teachers were asking me this morning about parent resources. We made a folder real quick and I added it to that Google folder. So, you know, use that. I'll continue to add over time as we find other needs that you may have. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go straight to the site because of time. And it doesn't matter if you are in a training account or if you are in your Clever account. When you log in, you should be on the student management page. Those of you that have logged in with the training accounts, you always fall to the RAS Plus page. I would just like for you to go to your managed students and just go to that roster tab. Many of you have said, Angie, I see last year's kids. Do I delete them? And just a reminder, we do all the work for you. We are in the process of getting files from the district, and we will start uploading those new class rosters for you. It's going to be kind of wonky for the next week or so because you may have last year's kids and this year's or just last year's, but don't worry, they'll all be ready for that first day of school for your students. All right, when you're talking about data, the student management page is really home base for you. So when you go up to this reports tab, and as I said, you're going to be looking at, you may be looking at your data from your kids last year. So on this reports tab, you have student activity. Now, depending on, so when I click on just my RAS Plus tab, which is what you have, and I can go in and I can populate what kids have done last week, last month, the last 90 days. That when you get your new roster, you can actually go in and populate it, and you can see everything the kids did from August of last year to August of this year. And it will show you, you know, if they listened to stories, if they read, if they took quizzes, if they did any kinds of interactivities, if they did any practice recordings. When you use the All tab, it's also going to show you their incentives, how many times they've logged in, how many stars they've collected, how much time they've spent in their incentives. Teachers don't use this tab a lot, but I always like to explain it to you. One of the most important tabs in here is going to be your skills tab. Now I can go in and I'm going to go ahead and filter mine just to RAS Plus because my data is from all of the different accounts. Again, I can go in and I can choose what I'm looking for. I usually just keep it at all. And we do have a few interactivities and games. So if that's all you're looking for, if you've done a comprehension skill pack, you may want to just click on that. But again, I normally keep it on all. If I have kids reading at different languages, I can filter it just to the Spanish or the French resources. If you're sharing in students, you can go in and filter just by those kids. And of course, the biggest one is the date. I want to know what my kids did today. I want to know what my kids did last week. So all of this is going to give you great information. As I said, if you populate it to last year, when you get your new roll, it's going to show you the good and the bad and the ugly of where your kids were. Now, this is just for last year for mine, and you can see I don't have a whole lot of data. I'm going to go ahead and bump mine up to all. I didn't have a class reading in my area last year. So here I can see what I really need to focus on and what needs to be addressed and what I should feel pretty good about. If you're seeing just one or two scores, nothing that's really high that's in the red, it may just be a couple of kids. But let's take a look at my cause and effect. I've only got 62% of kids passing or doing, what they're doing in that area. So when you click on the actual skills tab, it's going to give you the kids' names. When I click on that accuracy, again, it's going to show me where those weaknesses are. I can see James is probably at the lowest. Charlie's going to be at the highest. He's at 82, but I'm probably still going to keep him within that range. So as I'm looking at these, if I want to dive deeper, and I'll just use myself. So when I open that up, these are all of the books and activities that I've done that have had a cause and effect question. So if it's 1 out of 1, that means I got it correct. If it's 0 out of 1, I got it wrong. I can also go in and click on that question, and I can see how the question was written. Was it the vocabulary that got them? Did they just guess? What are some reasons why the kids may have missed that type of question when it's focusing on cause and effect? So you can get some really good data from this area. Another area under your assignment tab is going to give you a little bit more data as well. So if you are making assignments to the kids, now if you're just having them read in there, you're not going to have a lot of information here. But if you click on that orange assign button, or if you click on that folder and create a folder, you are going to have data pulled in here. Now, the only thing that I really want to show you on this tab is, do you see where this says status and it says all? What I want you to do for your students now is click on what's completed. That way it's going to narrow that information. And I actually populated mine to just show Angela's. If I've created groups, I could look by groups. If I wanted to look at my share in, if I want to look at all of my kids, I can go in and do that as well. So when you, so I'm just going to look at mine as an example, because this is something that I've been stressing all day about having kids go back and highlight their textual evidence. So Angela did an activity. This was a cause and effect assignment. And I could go in, she had the story, A Better Running Shoe, and she read the story. And when she was in the story, this was one of those comprehension skill pack activities. And you can see where she created, she underlined, let's say she underlined the key idea, or she maybe circled, or maybe it was the cause and effect. She underlined the cause, she circled the effect. So you can go in and actually see what the kids did. This one, Angela actually took a quiz. She missed the one on character analysis. It actually shows me what she missed. So I could go back into Angela's annotations and I could actually try to go back and see exactly where she highlighted that evidence, or if she didn't highlight that evidence. And that's just giving me additional data to use with the kids whenever I'm working with them during intervention, working with them during those small group activities. So take a couple of minutes and just, even if you're in the training accounts, and pull up either skills or an assignment. And you can choose maybe one of your students from last year, or maybe the whole class, and just kind of see what were some of those skills that you may have some gaps that are going to need some additional support. And I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes because of the time. Just pick like maybe one skill that you want to focus on. And you may see student annotations and you may not have even known those were there for your kids. I am kind of curious, if you don't mind, in the chat, if you've ever really looked at this much of the data that you have for your kids. Again, if you want to go back to the skills and look at those as well and open those up to look at, again, you know, it's going to show you everybody, but just their different ranges of need. Now, if you are an interventionist, you're not the teacher of record, but you do have a RAS Plus account, you can go in under your class roster, and there is a tab that's called Share in Students. So if I am the interventionist and I have some of Richard's kids in my classroom, I could actually click on Share in Students. I could click on, I could type in Mr. Chen's name, do a search, and then I could add whichever children that I have in there. That would, so now I'm able to look at the data and I can make assignments. If you, sometimes principals may ask you for different data for your kids. If you're doing benchmark running records, they may ask you for that. They may ask you for a skills report. And notice under any of these tabs, I'm going to click on skills for now. You can actually download the information. If someone is working with a child, maybe individually, when you click on the tab, I can actually click on Angela, but I can go into all of Angela's resources. So when I go under my class roster and I click on Angela, this is where I can go in and I can look at all of Angela's reports. With her reports, I could print that out for the other teachers or other people that may need it. You know, sometimes coaches want to see that information, and you can pull up all of the different information that's available, whether it's their skills report, as you can see here for mine, any assignments. So basically what I showed you, but now when you go into Angela's personal account, you can print that out. You can download it and email it to the other person as well. All right, once you have a skill, now how do I give the kids that intentional practice? So we know I'm seeing some familiar names. So I could go in and I could go to the file cabinet and I could create a folder based on a particular skill. So as you can see in mine, I've created several different folders over the last few days. Let's say kids were struggling with cause and effect. I could make a folder. When I click make new folder, I can name it whatever I want. And I can save it. I could add standards. I can share it out. So a lot of different ways I can use it. All right, now I'm going to go to my search box. And, you know, if you're looking for theme or other things, you can do that search. But when I'm thinking about data and reports and really looking at intentional practice for my kids, so I can go in and I know the comprehension skill packs. Those would be the first thing that I would want to make sure that my kids have. But now I can go in, there's 653 resources. So first off is maybe I need to just go in and look for maybe second grade level text. Maybe I just need English, or maybe I just need Spanish. I can go in and filter again. Maybe since I'm doing cause and effect, I'm just looking for nonfiction text. So you can go in and narrow it. And now you see I have 34 books. So I went from 653 to 34. And I could keep narrowing that search if I wanted to. So I can kind of take a look at the different books, read a little bit about what the story might be about, what's going to be the thing that's really might capture my kids' attention. So I see this book, The Science of Hiccups. This looks pretty interesting. And I honestly have not read this story. So this is something that, you know, I think my kids would enjoy reading about. They're actually going to have a graphic organizer that I could have the kids use while they're reading their story. So I could just assign it out to whomever, and that way I'm going to get data on this. I could assign it out, put the date that I want the kids to see it. Or if I want to really focus on that skill, what I can do is come down to the cause and effect, and I can add that resource to that particular folder. Maybe I want to use the lesson plan when I'm doing this in small group. Maybe I want to make sure that I have those worksheets so that way I'll be ready to print anything out. Maybe I want to have those discussion cards ready for the kids. So when you look at it, it's kind of like a one-stop shop. I have everything I need for my kids to work with that particular book. You know, I can continue to go through those cause and effect books, and I can choose more of those books. I can also go in and download, as I mentioned, that comprehension skill pack. So here are a few more resources, and I can continue to click on those and add those. Normally we do have if you hover over it, it will let you add straight from this area, but there must be a bug in our system today because it's not allowing me to do that. But let me go in and I'll do the same for your comprehension skill packs. So second grade, cause and effect. I can add this to the folder. You know, it's another resource that I want the kids to have. Here's my lesson plan. Here's what we're going to do together. And then I'm going to assign out the interactivity. So you can see as I'm putting in all of those different resources in that file, I'm being very intentional with their independent practice. So now once I've populated everything that I want the kids to do, I can now assign these resources out. It's going to give me anything that you see the planet. Those are going to be the resources that Angela or somebody else is going to see. I also have my PDFs. They're all in one area for me. Now I can print out whatever I need for the kids and whatever I need for myself. So instead of you digging into 50,000 resources, you now have your just right resources for both you and your kids to use in class. So great way to do that. If you haven't been in any of the sessions, I know we just have a couple of minutes before we finish today, but go to the search bar for me, type in a skill and search for that skill, maybe even do a filter that search, and then go in and build that folder for that student or students. And if you have questions, if you need me to show you how to do something to go back, I'm happy to do that for you. My last two groups have both been so quiet. My chats have been full of all these different questions. I've either answered them sometime during the day or you're just too tired to ask. This was a very fast presentation on looking at your reports. That may be something that you would like us to do at a later time, maybe go in and dive a little bit deeper into those, but I felt like that was a quicker way for you to go in and look at those. We do need to fill out our feedback form before you leave today. So if you don't mind getting a screenshot of that. This slide deck is in the folder that I mentioned earlier. I also wanted to share my email. I'll add it to the chat, but I'll also put it on the screen if you want to take a quick picture of it. I'm always available to answer your questions. If you can't find something, don't fret about looking for it. Try to email me first. I usually respond pretty quickly, and I can either call you or send you screenshots of where to find something. I don't mind staying on for a couple of minutes if you need to ask maybe a private question that you don't want to share out with everyone. I'm happy to answer those for you as well. I hope you have a wonderful school year. And if this was your only session, I do suggest that you go back and watch our 90-minute session. There's a lot of exploration time during that time, but a lot of great information. All of the slide decks are in the folder for you as well. The recordings are being posted here fairly quickly after we finish the sessions.
Okay, thank you.
You are so very welcome. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate your sweet comment. Thank you, Richard, for your help today.
Thanks, Angela.
We have a few participants left. Any questions that I can answer before we wrap up today? Oh, you're welcome, Renee. Thank you. Just going back to check, make sure I got all the questions. I'm all answered. Thanks, Richard. I appreciate it today. Hey, do you know where the recordings are going to be located after today? Several of the teachers were asking me that.
I think the leadership is gonna send an email, but I'll find out for you. Let me get your email and I will text you the link when it becomes available.
Okay, that way if they email me and I can say this is where you'll find it.